Welcome into the Rancho kitchen. As you guys know, I just came out of the shop, so I'm a little slobby looking today. As you guys know, one of the things I really enjoy doing here, and I've done it for a lot of years, getting close to 10 years on YouTube, is baking. And one of my favorite breads to bake is the Jewish rye bread. And I do it a little bit different. I think mine really kicks it up a notch besides just adding caraway seeds, because I make my own dill juice, taking dill, the stuff that you can buy on the spice rack, and adding that with some vinegar and a little bit of water, and it makes like a brining sauce, a brining liquid that you can use on cucumbers to make pickles. But I also add like 3 tablespoons of pickle relish to my dough, and you're thinking to yourself, wow, this is insane, right? But you wouldn't believe how nice it is when you're eating that sandwich and you bite into that and you get one of those little pieces of pickle. It's great. You have like a ham and Swiss, or ham and American, or anything like that on a Jewish rye bread, and you get that pickle flavor. It's intense and it's nice. But you're also going to need some caraway seeds here too. So we're going to start today. You should always start your bread the day before. Why? Because it gives it a chance to ferment a little bit. Make a little bit of what you call your starter or poolish, and then the next day you add more flour, more water, and then build it up to a workable dough. By letting it ferment overnight, you really deepen the flavor. You have a prettier loaf of bread too, because it's deeper in color than one that's just knocked out the same day. So we're going to get started over here and make the starter dough today. So glad to have you along. If you're not subscribed, you'll find so many baking videos on here. So much fun, and also adding Kitchen Stadium, what I call hack job cooking. And what a good friend of mine termed hack job cooking. That is 90% of the flavor of cooking with 10% of the effort. So does that sound appealing? Please hit the subscribe button. Let's get to it. First thing I want to do is activate my yeast, and everybody's always screaming, Rosie, you never measure anything when you're baking. I know, isn't that terrible? I'm going to pour in about a teaspoon of yeast in there, and I have a teaspoon of sugar too, regular white sugar, and I'm going to work that all together. I've got a cup of, the water is lukewarm. Don't make it too hot or you will kill your yeast, okay? And we're going to let that come to life and activate it a bit, and then we're going to add our flour. For starters, we're going to put 1 cup of all-purpose, and we're going to put 1 cup of rye flour here, okay? So get ready with that, and we'll make sure that's a pretty wet dough for overnight. We'll cover it, and we'll come back again tomorrow, but let's get to it. See how foamy that is? That's called proofing the yeast. Now I have some rye here, premium rye flour. I'm going to add a cup of this, and I'm going to add a cup of all-purpose flour. I'm going to pop that in right now. There goes our rye flour. There goes our all-purpose. And all we have to do now, we can add a good teaspoon, depending on your sodium intake, a teaspoon or 2 of salt. And we're going to also add some of the brine that I made with the dill. Okay? And check that out on a separate video. There we go there. It's about a half a cup there. And tomorrow we will go ahead and add the relish. Now, which kind of relish? I really like the Vlasic, the sweet relish. It really does a nice job of accentuating the flavor. We can go ahead and put in our 2 tablespoons of caraway seeds now too. If you're like me, ooh, you love that smell of caraway seeds. It's amazing. Yeah, see how I measure things? Right. There we go, right there. All right, put that much into your... Put a little more, right? I like a lot of caraway flavor. Where the hell's the top for this thing? I thought this would be called crazy baking here. So there's all of our ingredients. I'm going to go ahead and stir it up now. That should still be a pretty wet dough. We're going to combine that together. We're not going to overbeat it, and then we're going to let that sit overnight. Let me finish combining this, and we'll wrap up day one. That's the way she looks, all combined. So now I'm just going to cover this with plastic, let it sit overnight. It's going to be a nice cool ferment, which is good. Better than a warm ferment. It deepens the flavors. So I'm going to cover that with the plastic, and day one is complete. I'll see you guys tomorrow morning. Welcome back, everybody. We got some hungry cats out there this morning. Get them taken care of. We're back for day two of cooking or baking the, what I call the Pickle Relish Jewish Rye bread. How's that for a long title? Well, it's Jewish rye bread, but what makes it different is adding the relish in it along with the dill, liquid dill like you would get. You can also use what comes out of a pickle jar, right? If you have buy a jar of pickles, you can use that pickle juice that you would normally throw away, and you can make yourself a really kick-ass loaf of Jewish rye bread. So what we're going to do now this morning, this is fermented overnight, our mix. We'll take a look at it. It's getting kind of spongy looking, which is exactly what we want. It's been cool in here. It's been a nice slow rising ferment, which is great. So that's the way we look this morning. It has some sponginess and elasticity to it when I grab it. I'm now going to go ahead and I'm going to add one more tablespoon. I'm going to liquefy some, I'm going to put some yeast in a glass, get that proofed, and then pour that in. We're going to put maybe two and a half, maybe 3 cups of flour in, as well as the pickle relish. So let's get started. Some of you may wonder, why are we using supplemental yeast today? Well, very importantly, rye tends to be a very heavy flour, so this is going to help give it some lift. It's like when you need that morning bracer, when you wake up and you just grab that shot and boom, you're good for the day. So we're going to let this activate a little bit, pour it in, get our flour in, our relish, and we're going to put this on the mixer and really knead. I'm using my KitchenAid. I got this about 4 years ago. It's the Professional 600, and I really like it. It's done great duty for me. There we go. In went the supplemental. I guess it was like a half a cup of liquid with the yeast activated. And I put 2 heaping tablespoons of the pickle relish in. Now all we have to do is bring this up with the flour. We'll probably add 1 more teaspoon, probably half a teaspoon of salt. You can see that's bubbling away. It's very happy. There's our first cup of flour's been added in. I'm getting ready to put in the second one. I also put a half a teaspoon of salt. Let me see if I can get this out in the light a little more. I've gone ahead and added the second cup of all-purpose flour. We're going to let this come together really well. Get kneaded. We're going to let it go through 2 rises. The first one's going to be about 4 hours. The second one will be about 1 hour, then we'll shape it up and we'll bake it. So see you in a bit. Looking good. A couple more minutes. I've been kneading this pretty aggressively for 15 minutes. Get ready to transfer it to a greased bowl. There we go. If you're not used to working with rye flour, it tends to be a little stickier. So we got it in the bowl here. We'll add some flour to shape it after this first initial rise. Okay, so she's in the bowl. We're going to cover it with the plastic and let it rise. Look at how beautifully risen that is after the first rise. It was about, I think about 3 hours or so. Now I'm going to go ahead and shape it, and I want to put it on some parchment paper here, and this is going to be important because I'm going to bake it in a Dutch oven over there, and that's going to give heat on the top of the bottom. So let me go ahead and shape this a little bit and let it rise again. I have it set on the parchment paper and I've covered it again. I'm going to give you a little hint for having your dough rise really nicely. I have some hot water in here, and what I do is take this bowl, this rising bowl, and I put it on top of there, and that extra heat helps it to rise nicely. So I'm going to let it rise for an hour, then I'm going to start the oven and preheat the Dutch oven for about a half hour, and then we're ready to bake. All right, welcome back. I have the Dutch oven heated up. I've been running it. This is about 600, which equates to 550 degrees. I have a commercial Fisher Paykel oven here. I realize that. I'm going to put it on convection for the fan. I'm going to remove it. The dough has had its second rise. Since I have it on the parchment paper, it's going to be easy to transfer it into the Dutch oven without having it suffer a lot of deflation. I'm going to score the top of it in two parts to allow some release as it rises. I want to give a caution, we're working with very high temperatures here. Do not forget that your Dutch oven is red hot. Make sure to use your gloves and work carefully. I'm going to go ahead and get a sharp knife here, and I'm going to score the top, as I said, in 3 places. This is going to give some relief lines so that the bread doesn't just expand willy-nilly, but in a pattern that makes sense. You can see the slashes on the top there. Now, I want to be careful not to deflate this bread a lot, so I'm going to be gentle with the handling of it. I'm now going to get my gloves on, and I'm going to sit the Dutch oven on top of here. Be very careful, okay? This thing is hot. Working with high heats, a lot of danger. We're going to work rapidly so we don't lose a lot of the heat. I'm going to go ahead and remove these for a second so I get good handling. I'm going to go ahead and lower that right into the Dutch oven. Putting my gloves back on. I feel like a boxer, right? I'm going to put the lid on. Pull that back so it can rise. And right into the oven for an initial 40 minutes, okay? We'll see you in 40 minutes. At that point, we should be able to remove the lid and let it finish. So keep your fingers crossed. I think we're going to have some really great Pickle Relish Jewish Rye bread. All right, see you in a bit. Oh, look at how beautiful that loaf looks. It exploded. It's been about 35 minutes. I'm going to give 15 more minutes uncovered, and then she should be done. There is the wonderful, amazing finished product. I don't know about you, but I can't wait to try a slice tomorrow and wrap up our video. It looks fantastic. I'm going to pull it out, and I'm going to put it on the cooling rack and let it cool down nicely. Good morning, everybody. Our loaf is crisp nicely here. I like to put it in the next day 400-degree oven for about 10 minutes. It gives it a nice outer crisp on it. So let's take our knife here. Oh, listen to that. That's when you know you have a good bread. And look at how that looks inside. So beautiful. That's what you like to see. And in there are little pickle bits. Let's go ahead and try a little piece of it here. That little bit of sourness just blasts right through, and I think I was lucky I got a little bit of a pickle bit too. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to make myself a sandwich and enjoy today. And thank you guys for being here. Please thumbs up, and if you're not subscribed, I do lots and lots and lots of baking on the Rancho, vintage audio restoration videos, metal detecting, live streams, out and about, doing a lot of travel and things, restoration, particularly of churches and things like that, fundraising. So thank you so much for being here today. Thumbs up are appreciated, and I'll see you soon. Thanks, everybody.